So the Philadelphia 76ers are currently being investigated by the NBA and now could potentially face one of the largest penalties that the league has seen in a very long time. What? We need to break it all down, man. Let's go. Perfect. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Philly Take with RB, number one show providing the passion to the fans, always breaking it all down. I'm RB. Hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss any of the content. Today we are back and, we're going about our normal day, our normal morning. There have been talks recently, right, about the whole tampering thing, whether it's the Sixers with James Harden and PJ Tucker or the Knicks with Jalen Brunson and a bunch of others, which we have talked about, a little bit, but an update comes out this morning and it comes via Derek Bodner on Twitter. Now, it's not like an official update or anything, but he kind of adds more to the context of this situation. And this kind of blew me away a little bit. I can't lie. I cannot lie. Derek Bodner's tweet here, he says, quote, "The NBA is actively investigating the 76ers, including allegations of cap circumvention, which, if somehow proven true, would carry the biggest penalty the NBA has seen in decades, yet this still somehow feels like the least chaotic and most normal offseason the franchise has had in 7+ years. Now, he's right about that last part, right? Like, this is an actual offseason. We bring back our guy. Our core is finally sticking together. They get another go about. Right? They get a training camp, they get an off season to really work on that chemistry and hone it in, right? But man, the NBA investigating the Sixers, first off, cap circumvention. I don't know if that's like a real thing or if that's just, playing it up and using big words, but cap circumvention, and if proven true, would carry the biggest penalty that the NBA has seen in decades. Now, let's break this down. First and foremost, we have an article to get into and it'll explain more, but essentially the talks recently have been about James Harden. He declined the $47.4 million player option. He took a massive pay cut to help the team, and he has stated multiple times in the public eye that is what he wanted to do. The Sixers were able to get guys like PJ Tucker and Danuel and bring some more familiar faces and more help into this team as we try to hopefully embark on a championship journey this upcoming season. Now, I have a couple beefs with this right off the bat, as we've kind of talked about before. Number one, what is tampering at this point? There's been a lot of talks about it. The NBA has the whole moratorium period and they start free agency, and it's like such a played up big event. Right, all the tweets are in the drafts of guys like Woj and Shams, and they're so ready to press send, on July whatever at 3 p.m. They're ready to go. So when we think about tampering, and this goes for everyone, not just the Sixers, I think there needs to be more concrete rules. I don't know what it is anymore, right? Because as the years have gone on, I'm not going to sit here and be naive to the fact that, of course, the Sixers probably talked to PJ Tucker in advance of free agency. I mean, the Knicks already had to deal with Jalen Brunson. This team had to deal with this guy. How about the fact that when free agency started, DeAndre Jordan, of all people, signed with the Denver Nuggets approximately 5 seconds in to free agency, right? Shams dropped about 5 tweets at that time. Woj. My point being is that, I have a beef with this whole thing, how the teams are getting penalized, yet you have reporters, you have news outlets, you have sources putting this information out, leaking it out weeks in advance of free agency to really buy up the hype, right, and get the clicks and all that stuff. So, why are the teams getting penalized? Why are they getting penalized like this? And my second thing coming here with the Sixers, right? First off, the whole cap circumvention, the PJ Tucker thing, fine, I get it. You want to dock us a second-round pick in 2027, fine. It happened to the Miami Heat. It happened to with the whole Kyle Lowry thing, it happened to the Bulls with the Lonzo Ball thing, and it's happened to other teams. I get it, right? But this whole cap circumvention, essentially what I'm drawing from this is that, the NBA is not happy with the fact that James Harden took a massive pay cut and they kind of thought that everything was already into play. Well, again, James Harden has said it multiple times in the public view. He wants to win. He is at a point in his career, I will continue to reiterate this, where he's done everything. He's one of the best players of all time, and he's a scoring threat, and he's just a 10-time All-Star who's done everything, all the accolades, except win a championship, and now views this as a realistic shot for him to be able to do that, maybe one of the last in his career. So, he wanted to bring some reinforcements in. He wanted to help the team, and he wanted to be, the best teammate that he could, especially in recent memory where a lot of people have tried to dock his character. Now, getting into the article, which kind of breaks it down more, this was the article that Woj had written about a week or two ago, and he kind of described where the mindset is at. He said the NBA investigating the Sixers for possible tampering, but when you start throwing in these other terms, it gets very sticky, to be honest, in my opinion. He talked about James Harden and the deal. He says Sixers president of operations Daryl Morey has already begun answering questions from league attorneys. The investigation is expected to include interviews with team personnel and the organization turning over electric correspondence and phone records to league investigators. Teams were not allowed to have conversations with agents or players on free agency deals prior to the opening of free agency. Once again, that happened with probably every single team in the league. So every single team should be investigated. And I'm sure it's probably going to be the Sixers and the Knicks that get docked picks. Honestly, I've thought this for some time, and it is true that the league does have something, against the Sixers with the whole process thing and that whole era. For example, not to go off on a tangent here, but you saw what happened with Sam Hinkie. Now there's guys like Sam Presti and OKC who can essentially do the same thing at a much more, massive pace, a bigger scale. Nothing happens. The league definitely has something against the Sixers. And I just don't think we're a very much liked team in the general eye. But anyway, Woj starts talking about it more. But the big thing here is that he says the NBA instituted more stringent penalties in such cases in 2019 regarding, players having deals in advance. But he says the possibility of the contracts becoming voided is seen as a virtually non-existent threat. So I don't think anything of that nature could happen. But really the big thing is that the NBA thinks that, the Sixers had a deal in place, and they think that by James Harden declining the player option, the Sixers already had a deal in place with PJ Tucker, which is currently illegal, under the rules. As it says right here, around the league, there have been questions about whether there's already a handshake agreement in place on a future contract, which would be in violation of the collective bargaining rules. So, I just don't get it. James Harden wants to be a good teammate. He wants to be better. He wants to help the team. And Doc Rivers even said in his interview last week that, Daryl Morey was calling him the night before and he was trying to get this Harden deal done. So I think that it came down to the best of the views of each party. I think it came down to, the common goal, which was to try to win, right? And, again, I think that the Sixers may have had, conversations with PJ Tucker, as a lot of teams do with these players before free agency begins officially. But to try to correlate the James Harden declining a player option to, PJ Tucker, I just don't see that. I don't see that. I think that James Harden acted in the best interest of himself, and also tried to bet on himself for the future, right? Like I've said before, he wants to get another contract. He could potentially opt out next season and try to get a longer term deal if he plays up to par, if he gets back to 100%. And that's another goal in his eye, right? He wants to get a 4-year contract after the next season. So, who knows what will happen? Maybe the Sixers will get docked a future pick. Hopefully they don't end up facing whatever this massive penalty is, the biggest penalty in years, because, that would, completely shake things up, especially on the next agreements coming up. And I just don't know why it's always Philly. I don't know why it's always the Sixers. I don't know why, the league seems to be, or the Sixers always seem to be targeted, right, in a lot of different things. I just don't get it. I don't get it. But what I do know is the Sixers have James Harden. They have PJ Tucker. They have Danuel House. They have all these guys, and, you know, it should work out well. It should work out well. Hopefully we'll get past this, whatever it may be, and, you know, we'll see what happens there. But nonetheless, Sixers, once again, having to face adversity in just another way. You give me all your thoughts down below in the comment section. How do you feel about this potential massive penalty coming to the Sixers? Give me your thoughts. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and like always, I will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Perfect.